I can hear you perfectly.
All right, great. Just give me. Okay, great. So we are going to begin today's class. So back and neck straight. Just gently close the eyes. Sit on your mat comfortably with the back and neck straight. And the eyes are gently closed. And start observing your breath. Your breathing as you inhale and as you exhale. Keeping the body still and comfortable. And when you feel ready, begin to deepen the breathing. Slow, long, and deep inhalations. Slow, long, and deep exhalations. Relax the mind completely. We'll be chanting Om one time, followed by the Shanti Mantra. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niram. Sarve bhadra. Sham, sham, sham. Just feel the vibration. Join the palms together in front of the chest and rub the palms together. Place them on your eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at your palm of the eyes. Namaste. Let us begin today's session. I hope I'm still audible, or is my voice a little bit unclear?
A little bit unclear, but still audible.
Oh, just give me a moment. All right, should be a little better now. So let us begin with today's session. Last time we ended the session at, the meaning of yoga. We had started discussing that. And today we are going to go a little bit more deep into the meaning of yoga. So in the last class, we discussed the famous, sutra, Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha, right? And we went a little bit in detail about what the sutra means, yeah, and trying to understand what the process of yoga is. So a very common misunderstanding of yoga just being asanas and pranayama, it got cleared up in the last class itself, where I elaborated on the definition given by Maharishi Patanjali ji. And today, we are going to go deeper into the meaning of what yoga is. So last time, when we discussed the meaning of yoga, I told you that, the cessation, it's not forceful. The cessation of the mental modifications that takes place happens naturally. When you go into the process of yoga, there is something that is happening naturally. And this state that Maharishi Patanjali ji was talking about cannot be forced, or you cannot just reach there because you want to reach there, right? Sometimes we want something and we work really hard towards it, and we are like, that if I work hard, I will reach that thing. And that is true for a lot of things, but the process of yoga, the best part about this entire process is that it things come naturally to you. You don't have to run behind them. So it's the process which makes you realize everything that you need is there. You just have to constantly work towards purifying yourself. And when the purification happens, that is when you see that whatever you are looking for is already there with you. It's like right now there is a lot of darkness, there is no light in the room, right? So we are not able to see the tables, the chairs, the computer that is kept in a room, right? But when we switch on the light, we are easily able to see all of those things. So yoga is something like that. It switches on a light, right? It removes the impurities and it helps you, allows you to see that something is already there, right? And you are looking for it elsewhere, right? But it is already there. Wherever you are, that thing is already there with you, right? So reaching to this conclusion naturally is the process of yoga. No force, no overstretching in asana, no holding the breath for too long beyond your capacity in pranayama, right? Just reaching there naturally. So now like I said, the cessation takes place naturally. So, there must be something more that must have been said if the natural attainment of this state has been talked of, right? So, this takes me to the second definition of yoga. So, a very famous text, and we will have a separate class on this, Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So Srimad Bhagavad Gita, SRIMAD, Srimad Bhagavad, BHAGAVAD, and Gita, 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 right? So this is another very, prominent text of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, right? Or very famously known as just Gita, right? And even this text, this entire text is about what yoga is. And when we discuss this text in detail, I will tell you more about it. But it is mostly a conversation, right, that is taking place in between two individuals, and one of them is God Himself, right? So in this text, God Himself, He explains, Lord Krishna, He explains the meaning of yoga. And He says in the second chapter, right? In the second chapter itself, He said, Samatvam Yog Uchate. Samatvam, SAMATVAM. Samatvam Yog, YOGA, Yog, Uchate, UCHYATE. Samatvam Yog Uchate, right? So in the second chapter itself, he moves on to explain the meaning of yoga, and he says, Samatvam Yoguchate, or, equanimity, balance. Equanimity or balance is yoga. That is what this shlok means, Samatvam Yoga Uchate, right? So he goes on to explain what yoga is, and he says that equanimity is yoga. So now, how do you reach the natural state of the cessation of mental modifications is through this, right? When you attain this sense of equanimity, when you incorporate this sense of equanimity or balance into your life, you are naturally bound to reach a state where the mental modifications will cease to exist, right? So equanimity not only like, on the bodily level where you are maintaining your health, right? Even on a mental, emotional level, maintaining that balance, that state of being neutral, that is what he said is yoga. So, when you practice meditation, a lot of students, when they practice meditation, they are looking for something in meditation, they are awestruck by the experiences that other people have, right? And they want to experience that same thing. But being a student of yoga, right? When you practice meditation, this thing should be very clear to you that when you are practicing meditation, right, you are not looking for some experience. You are just encountering the reality as it is, right? when you watch your body, when you watch your breath, or when you chant a particular mantra. What is that thing doing? It's not asking you to react to something, right? It is asking you to come in the observation state where you are not looking for something extraordinary. You are just trying to see whatever there is, the way in which it is. Right now, we are wearing pink colored or green or blue colored sunglasses, and we are seeing things, all the things in those colors, right? So, what yoga does is what this equanimity or balance does is it asks you to remove those glasses where you see the ups and downs in life as they are. They're nothing else. If the up has come, the down is going to come, right? Because it is a chain, it is a cycle, right? So when the wheel moves, it goes up and then down, right? So circular motion is taking place. So, one portion of the wheel which is on the top, when the rotation takes place, it is going to come to the bottom and then again it is going to come to the top, right? It is natural and normal to understand this. So when he said balance, attaining balance is what is going to take you to that natural state, it means you are being observant, you are being neutral, right? You are, coming to the neutral gear and just seeing the things as they are, right? If a low comes in your life, sometimes what happens, and most of the times for our, the modern times especially, we see that if there is a level of suffering in the life, we get caught up, we get stuck in that thing. Yeah. And we remain stuck in that thing. We are not ready to, let that thing go, right? Not understanding that it is also going to pass, right? And then when the up in life comes, we just want to hold on very tightly to it, right? Not recognizing again that the downfall is bound to come, right? If I told you, like we study in very logical subjects like maths also, 1 + 1 is 2, right? Or in chemistry, H2O, right? Water is always going to have that composition, right? So life is always going to have this composition where it is going to go through various phases. If you know this thing, then immediately your sense of reaction towards a certain thing is bound to reduce. Even if you just understand the theory, right? And when you go into meditation, that is when you actually experience this thing. So that is why, meditation is so important for you guys. Why? Because it's going to give you that experience. Sorry. It's going to give you that experience. I am telling you everything is changing. You must have seen it in your life that everything is changing. But then you come in an observation state because till now everything in your life was changing and you were also flowing with that. You were also reacting with the changes. You never stepped back to observe. So in meditation, what you do is you step back and you observe. First thing you do is you observe. Okay, this wave is taking place, right? This thing is changing, right? So when you go into that practice, that is when you realize that yes, everything is changing. And if I keep changing, if I keep moving along these waves and I keep reacting, right, I will be the only one who comes in that kind of mental trouble, right? Because if something is very happy, I will be very, very happy along with it, right? And if something is really sad, I will be really sad along with that thing. It's like watching a movie. When you meditate, you watch your life like a movie, right? So sometimes, yes, we do get very engrossed and involved in the emotions of the movie. But when we are watching the movie, our task is only to observe whatever is happening in the movie. It's not happening with us, right? So this sense, when this thing, starts coming up, right, in your life, where ups and downs are coming and you are aware, okay, if this has come, then this is going to pass away also. Everything is impermanent. The sense of impermanence, once you recognize this thing, balance is bound to come in your life. You don't have to do anything, right? All you have to do is go as deep in your meditation as possible, and you will yourself go through those moments where you recognize and realize, okay, now this is happening. You will start becoming more aware, and you will remember to take a step back and just observe. You will not be impacted by the dualities of life, right? So a very common story, right? When this particular meaning of yoga needs to be understood, a very common story. So, uh, in the earlier times, there was, way in which this knowledge was given, right? So right now we, pay and we take the knowledge of yoga. But earlier, the system of Gurukul was there, where you know, um, the student went and lived in a particular place in an ashram and stayed with the guru, right? And the guru, the guru used to teach the students, and not only teach, give a lot of tasks to the student, right? And so, one day what happened was the guru was teaching what yoga is, yeah, what this equanimity is. So he said that, words cannot explain this, so let me give them a task, right? So, it's the quality of the guru. The guru will never point out and scold the student which is causing the nuisance. The guru will only, point out and scold the student who is his favorite, right? So that everybody else can learn from that, right? So what happened was, the guru, he called his favorite student and he said that, you have to do this thing at this time, this thing at this time. He gave him an entire list of each and every hour of the day and what the student is supposed to do, right? And the student, being a very diligent student, his favorite best student, right? He said, yeah, I'm going to do everything, and I'm going to do everything with a lot of dedication, right? So the guru said, very good. Go and from tomorrow begin with these things, right? So, all right. Then he called all the other students, right? And he told them, now come and sit. Let me explain the meaning of equanimity to you through this example. So, I have given the student all of these tasks during the day, and he has to do all of those tasks, right? And whenever he does a particular task, so in 1 hour, if he's doing something, go and appreciate him in that hour. And in the next hour, go and criticize him for everything that he's doing, right? So everybody said, okay. So they had to shift. One time they had to appreciate, then they had to criticize, then again they had to appreciate, then again they had to criticize. All right. So this thing happened. Everybody was done and decided that this is how everything is going to go about in the next upcoming few days. So, okay, everybody was like all set. So next day came in, and they went. So the favorite student, first thing in the morning, he had to clean the class because guru was going to come and take the class. So he cleaned the class, and everybody used to come before the teacher, right? In earlier times, teacher did not chase the students, right? The students came in the class timely, right, before the teacher. So he cleaned the room, and everybody came in, and everybody appreciated him. Wow, you have set the mat so perfectly, you have cleaned the room so perfectly. Even the blackboard is clean. If the guru wants to write something down, you have arranged everything that he would need, and even put his asan vagera very perfectly. We got very happy. He said, wow, they are, I have done an amazing task, right? So then the class took place, and when the class ended, he went to the other room. He had to, do something else. Yeah. So over there, he was assigned some other task. So he did that thing, right? And all the students came in over there. They followed him, right? They were just waiting for him to finish that task. So when they came in, so everybody started criticizing him. They were just like, you cannot even do this little thing. This is done so like badly, and do you not have any respect for the ashram? Everything they started criticizing him, right? Then next hour came in, he went, he did some other task, and everybody came in and everybody appreciated him a lot. They said, wow, this is perfect. You are just doing everything so perfectly. And each hour this kept on changing, right? And by the end of 2 or 3 days, he got very confused and he was very irritated and agitated, right? He said that I'm not able to understand, am I a good person or a bad person? Am I doing everything in the right manner, or am I like too useless, right? So what he did was he said that I cannot take the opinions of everybody, so let me go to my guru only. He will tell me, right? So when he went to the guru was sitting and meditating, and he knew, like he saw that coming. He knew that the favorite student was going to come in and ask, right? So he already saw that coming. So he was sitting in meditation. So he opened his eyes and he knew that his favorite student would be sitting, and the student had this, very confused look on his face, right? And so the guru said, yeah, ask me what is troubling you so much. So the student said that, I'm not able to understand. 1 hour I do something, everybody comes and appreciates me. And the other hour I do something and everybody criticizes me so much. And I'm not able to understand, am I good or am I bad? Like, I'm not able to draw a conclusion out of this. Right? So the guru said that you are not good, you are not bad, you are a fool. He said, you are a fool. Why? Because when somebody appreciated you, you became so happy. And so you felt that you were so, worthy. And the moment somebody else criticized you, you became so sad. You started questioning your own worth, right? So you're not good or bad, you are a fool. You are changing your reaction as per your environment. If your environment is appreciative of you, you feel so good about yourself. And if your environment is critical of you, you feel so disheartened. So not either of those. You are a fool. And how do we live our lives? Do we live our lives in balance? We also keep doing the same thing. If somebody appreciates us during the day, become very happy, good day. Yeah, that is how we end the day. It was a good day. And then if somebody criticizes us and our day goes bad, it's like the day was really bad. Yeah, today was not my day, right? So we are constantly placing that, expectation on the external, right? To determine who we are we good or are we bad? Based on how much education we have, right? Or what kind of career we have, or what kind of personal relations we have. We, introduce ourselves with our name and our careers. You would see most people, they do not think beyond that. They do not recognize their personality or their being beyond that, right? We are trained to think that if by this age or that age we attain something, we are living our lives perfectly. But ask those perfect people how happy they are. Somebody who attains success at a very early age, so miserable, all the time thinking about the money, how they would make more money, will they be able to, save that money? So much tension, I don't lose this money, right? We place those notions on certain things, right? According to the things that we are taught. We are not living in balance, right? We don't know who we are. And that is the balance that Lord Krishna was talking about. The knowledge of your own self will give you that balance. When you recognize who you are, nothing around you is going to, affect you. It's not going to cause that imbalance. You're going to come out of that duality because you know who you are, right? And you know what your worth is, right? You do not change according to or your moods do not change according to everything that is happening around you, right? So it's very important to recognize that this imbalance seeps in very little things in our lives, right? It doesn't just, stay till that external concept where we are not affected, right? It's actually gaining that vision. It's not ignoring or gaining a sense of indifference, right? So now this balance, I talked of balance, even balance is very hard to attain, right? Coming out of this duality and being in a state where you are not reacting is also a very hard thing. So then Krishnaji explains how you are going to attain this. How are you going to come into a state of balance? Because, state of balance also comes in very naturally, right? So then he gave another definition of yoga. In the same chapter, he gave another definition of yoga where he said, yoga karmasu kaushalam. Then he said, perfection in action. Then he gave you a very tangible way. He said that if you achieve perfection in action, then you will be able to reach a state where you come to balance. And when you come to balance, you will naturally reach that stage where the mental modifications cease to exist. So all three definitions, they are, connected, and they help you to understand how you can navigate them, right? So the third definition for us is the perfection in action is yoga, right? Now, I am talking of perfection. We live in a world where, we are, we do not believe that perfection is possible, but it is, right? Through the process of yoga, it is possible for you to attain perfection in each and every action. Everything that you do, it can become a form of perfection. And how it can happen? So he gave, a few qualities of the perfection, right? So he said that what is the meaning of perfection? When I say perfection, of course, for us there can be a lot of subjective meanings, but perfection according to Bhagavad-Gita is um, doing a task, right? So whenever we are doing a task, what is the quality? So it has to be done with full concentration. The task has to be done with full concentration, one thing at one time. Right? And lastly, we have these three things. So one thing is that the work is done with full concentration and dedication, right? So whenever we are doing some action, we have to make sure that we are fully concentrated. These days we are so hooked up in the technology, the gadgets, that we do 10 things at a time. And you would see, very common example. It has happened with me also, and a lot of people in my life. Sometimes we walk so absent-mindedly that we hit something, right? So hitting our head on the pillar, or thinking that there is no glass door, right? And not seeing that glass because we are so lost in our thoughts, right? And just there's a big bang that is created when you bump into that door and you don't realize, oh, there was a door over here. right? And it happens with a lot of us. We walk, we do things so absent-mindedly that we end up like while cooking, you end up cutting yourself, right? You're chopping something, your hand gets cut. Why is this happening? If you were fully concentrated on that task, there is no way in which you would hurt yourself. Do we like to hurt ourselves when we hit a pillar or a glass door? No, we don't want to, right? But it happens because we are constantly in that state of being absent-minded, right? So full concentration, when you are fully concentrated on whatever you are doing, right, there is complete concentration. If I am doing this thing, I'm doing it. If this thing is happening, the mind is also fully absorbed and engaged in whatever you are doing. You will never make a mistake. You will see this thing, when you feel very productive or when you feel that you are very concentrated, the result of that thing also comes out to be very, very good, and you are very, appreciated for that thing, right? When you experience that thing in your life where you are fully concentrated on a particular task, right? So that is the thing which is being talked of. When there is perfection in action, this is a quality. So for you day-to-day task, right? So in your life, how you can implement this thing, now today till tomorrow's philosophy class, you can try, you can experiment this thing. So whatever you are doing after the class, make sure you are doing it with full concentration, right? Make sure that whatever you are doing, if you are attending the class, you are fully, focused and concentrated on the class. If you're cooking, you're fully giving your mind, your senses, everything are engaged and involved in that thing, right? So you can already start implementing this thing in your life, right? Where you aim towards that perfection in action. You can work towards it. I'm not saying that it will come instantly, but you can work towards it. So fully concentrated on the task, right? Second thing, one thing at a time. So even science says this, we are not multitaskers. Sorry. Even science has proven this thing, we cannot multitask. It is just the brain's ability to switch so quickly from one task to the other that we fool ourselves thinking that we are multitasking, right? So if my brain, my life has been such where I have to do multiple things at the same time, so my brain is going to jump from one thing to the other, and it will jump at such a rate that I would think I'm multitasking, right? But I'm actually not. And you would see a lot of multitaskers, cannot attain perfection in one particular thing. Why? Because their brain possibly cannot comprehend so many things at the same time. It's just running and switching, right? And that is where you miss the main point. Because, today's life, the modern world is very demanding. If you don't multitask, then we are somewhere lacking behind. That is what the society has, pushed us to believe, that if you cannot multitask, you are no good. But actually, the way for you to, reach that state of balance is to, do one thing at a time, right? Simplifying your life, right? You don't have to be, Superman or Superwoman, right? You can just do one thing at a time. And, if you give that one thing your full concentration, you might just get done with it much more quickly. So in multitasking, even though you are in that illusion that you are doing multiple things at the same time, you end up taking up more time to complete the same task, because brain is constantly switching and one task is not able to get completed properly, right? So when we do one thing at one time, we are able to do it more efficiently. We are do it with much more awareness, right? With much more concentration, and that thing is completed properly because of that. So second quality that comes in when we talk of perfection of action is this quality. When you start doing this one thing at one time, you end up giving it more focus and concentration, right? So slowly with each quality, you will see how it is aiding to make your task more efficient and more productive, right? Then the third quality that comes in when we are talking of perfection in action is your detachment, right? So, doing something as a sense of responsibility, this is going to really help you to detach yourself from that task, right? Now, when we hear the word duty or responsibility, we immediately feel burden, right? Because that is how the training is done, right? But actually, when I say the word duty, it means that I'm supposed to do it and I'm doing it, right? There is no burden that is created in this word, right? So it's not a burdensome word. It is a word which will make you free of the ego, right? When you do something without an expectation of the results of that thing, right? When you do it with this, sentiment, then your mind comes in a state of non-reaction. Because if I'm constantly doing something, especially when I said do one thing at a time and with full concentration, so this, sense of, being very passionate about it comes in, right? That if I'm, giving one thing, doing one thing at one time, there is a lot of passion that I would feel. No, this detachment will take you from a place where you are very passionate to a place where you are compassionate, right? It will give you that sense of detachment. Because if you're constantly doing something with some expectation, right, then again, it is going to become a cause of your suffering. Because if you do not attain as much as you have put into that thing, if in case the result is little bit different from what you expected, it's going to cause you a lot of suffering. You will see this thing, like our mom, when we are at home, our mothers, they expect us to do certain things, right? And when we start doing those things, she doesn't allow us to do those things. But she is constantly cribbing that we don't contribute, right? Why? Because she's so attached to her work, to her contribution, that she cannot see anybody else do, right? If I do the cleaning and my mom does that cleaning, right? She will, want to do that cleaning herself. If I do it, it's not as per her, uh, whatever she expected out of it. So if I do it, it causes her suffering. If I don't do it, it again causes her suffering that my children don't contribute in the work of the house. So there's so much attachment. Even we, when we do something and we, actually have to trust somebody else to do that something, we end up getting very disappointed, right? We are not only attached to our actions, we are also attached to somebody else's actions. Right now, our state is such, we are even attached to the actions of somebody else. If someone else doesn't do that thing properly, or they do not live their life as we thought that they should, there's so much disappointment that is being caused, right? And we see this every day in our own life, in our own family. If you're not doing the thing you are supposed to or trained to do, there's so much disappointment that is caused, right? Because constantly there is this attachment, right, that we carry within ourselves, where we are so deeply attached to, whatever we are doing, that we cannot take accept anything else, right? And we constantly suffer because of that, because the results are not as we want. Most of the times, you will see results are not as you want them to be. Very rarely in life that happens, right? So we constantly suffer again and again, again and again. And when I'm talking of action, I'm not only talking of the physical action. Another point that I want to add, the mental action also, at all times we are engaged in some action or the other. Krishna ji says this in Bhagavad-Gita, that you cannot avoid the action, you cannot avoid karma, but you can detach yourself from it. the results, right? So if you are alive, some karma is taking place on some level or the other, right? So even mental reaction, first you stop your physical reactions, right? Not the action, but the reaction, right? And then you work on the mind, where you are stopping the mental reaction also, where you are, trying to step back, where you are not reacting. Okay, something happened. All right, let me take a step back and just see. Then I will give my analysis on what has happened. But we so quickly we react, we get angry, we get upset. We might not show it, but on the mind, that thing is happening where you are constantly reacting and you're hurting yourself when you go into this whole chain of reactions, right? So be very mindful when you are doing these things. And today, like whatever you do throughout the day, try to observe this and see how you can work towards this perfection of action. And these three qualities, when you start working on these three qualities in each and everything you do, meditation will not just remain restricted to your meditation classes, right? Each and every action is going to become a meditation, right? And that is how it comes into your life. Initially, you put in that 1 hour or half an hour, and then it actually starts to seep into your life. Meditation is nothing else, it's not separate, it's how you do the things. So from attaining perfection in action, you reach a state of balance. When you come to this, perfection in each and every action, you will see the mind is very stable and balanced, right? And this sense of detachment, it helps you to relax. Most of us, when we face a stressful situation, science has shown this thing, that even after facing that stressful situation, stressful situation has passed, but the mind is still in that state where it is releasing the stress hormones, right? Most of the people in today's world are stressed, not because they are constantly put in a stressful situation, but because their mind is constantly in that state. They're not able to switch back, right? Stressful situation has passed, but we are still over there, right? So when you come in this sense of detachment, you will lead yourself to a state of relaxation. When you come into that state of relaxation, you come in a state of balance. And when you come in a state of balance, again, very naturally, the fluctuations that are taking place, they are going to cease, and you are going to achieve that state of yoga. Before that, everything is the process, right? Your asanas, your pranayama, even your meditation, it is the process to attain that state, right? So when we talk of yoga, we're talking of a very particular state, and all other things are just working towards that, right? So are there any doubts in everything that we have covered so far? So meaning of yoga is clear?
Very clear, yeah. So I really have to work on my, thinking of my mind. I have a lot to work on. Thank you.
No worries. That's what the journey is about, you'll get there. But
Yeah.
you need to know where you are headed.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. So if there are no doubts, let's end today's session. Right? So we'll just chant Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. So just back neck straight, gently close the eyes. And inhale deeply for Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Join the palms together in front of the chest and just bow down. Beginning the day with a sense of gratitude. Rub the palms together. Place them on the eyes. Very slowly while blinking and looking at the palms, open up your eyes, start coming back. And namaste to everyone. I will see you for your pranayama class in the afternoon. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.